Started with a wrong turn. To understand how a single murder triggered a global catastrophe, you need to understand the system it detonated. By 1914, Europe's great powers had locked themselves into two opposing alliances. On one side stood the Triple Alliance: Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Italy. On the other, the Triple Entente: France, Russia, and Britain. These alliances were meant to keep the peace. If every major power had a partner, the thinking went no one would dare start a war they might lose. For decades it worked. But it also meant that any conflict between two countries could drag in their allies and their allies' allies until a regional dispute became a continental war. Underneath the alliances sat decades of tension. Germany, a newly unified and rapidly industrializing power, was racing to build a navy that could challenge Britain's. France still bitterly remembered losing the provinces of Alsace and Lorraine to Germany. In 1971, Russia saw itself as the protector of Slavic peoples across the Balkans, including a small, ambitious kingdom called Serbia. And in the Balkans themselves, the old Ottoman Empire was crumbling, leaving a patchwork of new nations hungry for territory, and an Austro-Hungarian Empire desperate to keep its own restless minorities in line. All Europe needed was a spark. On the morning of June 28th, 1940, Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, arrived in Sarajevo, the capital of Bosnia, a province Austria-Hungary had annexed just 6 years earlier, over the furious objections of neighboring Serbia. Waiting for him were 6 young conspirators, armed and trained by a secret Serbian nationalist group known as the Black Hand. Their goal: kill the Archduke and strike a blow for South Slavic independence. The first attempt failed. A bomb thrown at the royal motorcade bounced off the Archduke's car and wounded bystanders. Instead, Franz Ferdinand insisted on visiting the injured in hospital, a decision that would cost him his life. His driver took a wrong turn directly into a side street where one of the conspirators, a 19-year-old named Gavrilo Princip, happened to be standing. Princip stepped forward and fired twice. Ferdinand and his wife, Sophie, were dead within the hour. It was, by any measure, a regional tragedy. An assassination in a tense corner of Europe. Nothing about it made a world war inevitable. What happened next did. Austria-Hungary's leaders saw an opportunity. For years they had wanted to crush Serbian nationalism before it tore their multi-ethnic empire apart. Now they had their justification. But Austria-Hungary couldn't act alone, not without risking war with Russia, Serbia's protector. So Vienna turned to its ally in Berlin. On July 5th and 6th, German Kaiser Wilhelm II and his Chancellor gave Austria-Hungary what came to be known as the blank check: unconditional support for whatever action. Vienna decided to take against Serbia, even if it meant war with Russia. It was a fateful gamble. Germany's military leadership believed that if a European war was coming eventually, it was better to fight it now. While Germany still held a military advantage, and to wait while Russia's army grew stronger. Armed with German backing, Austria-Hungary spent the following weeks drafting an ultimatum. Serbia, one deliberately written to be impossible to fully accept. On July 23rd, nearly a month after the assassination, Austria-Hungary delivered its ultimatum. It demanded Serbia suppress all anti-Austrian propaganda, dismiss officials Austria deemed responsible, and, most provocatively, allow Austrian officials to take part in the investigation on Serbian soil. That last demand was the trap. No sovereign nation could accept foreign police operating within its own borders and still call itself sovereign. Serbia's response, remarkably, accepted almost every condition, all but the demand for Austrian officials to investigate inside Serbia! It was a near total capitulation. Austria-Hungary rejected in any way. On July 8th, exactly 1 month after the assassination, Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia. The dominoes were now lined up.